Check 1, 2, 3, 4.
For what?
Call this meeting of the Board of Supervisors of Tuesday, May 7th, 2013 to order. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Bronson?
Present.
Supervisor Carroll?
Here.
Supervisor Elias? Supervisor Miller?
Present.
Chairman Valadez.
Present.
Let the record show all members are present.
Today's invocation will be offered by Pastor Adam Rowland of Castle Rock Baptist Church and will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Supervisor Elias. Please stand.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for your loving kindness toward us. We praise you for the gift of life and for the freedom which you've entrusted to our care. Today I pray for our government and specifically for these public servants who minister on this Board of Supervisors, for Richard Elias, for Sharon Bronson, Ramon Valadez, for Allie Miller, and for Ray Carroll. Thank you for their dedicated service to this community. I ask that you would give them wisdom and understanding as they make decisions. May their judgments be equitable and well-advised. Grant that they may direct the affairs of Pima County with discretion and discernment. And may their conversation be seasoned with grace and kindness, and place your hand of protection upon them. Guide the proceedings of this day, and keep us mindful that the day is coming when every one of us must stand and give account of himself to God. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Today I'm going to exercise editorial license in the name Punter with Officer Bowden and Officer Velez. And pause for pause.
Good morning. This lovely character I have with me today is a dog, goes by the name of Puner. We would like that to be changed. Not the best name we've ever heard. That's the name he came with. But there's not a whole lot we can do with that right now. He's going to stay under that name until he's adopted. Puner was a dog found on a tie-out. He didn't have any access to water or shelter. He was rescued by none other than Officer Velez. The original owner agreed to surrender him at that point, and so there was no dispute at that point as to whether or not he would go up for adoption with us. He's been up for adoption since mid-March and still waiting. He's one of our dogs that's been there the longest. There's a few others that have been there a smidge longer, but Puner has been there for quite some time. He is a little bit over a year old, and he's some sort of a boxer mix. A very nice dog, and I can get him to sit. Can I have that treat? He will sit on command, I found. If I can get him to, there we go. Puner, sit, sit. Good boy. So as you can see, very well-mannered and learns well, so motivated by food, obviously. Puner has a discounted adoption rate because he's been with us for so long, so $25 will get him out the door. That's $10 for his adoption and $15 for his first year of licensing. He will come with a microchip, so he will be trackable, and it will be located if he were to ever get lost. And he will be neutered. It will take a day or so for us to get that done after he is adopted, and he'll have all his first rounds of shots done. If you have room in your home, he's a great dog and very anxious to get out of there as soon as possible. We have many, many, many cats and dogs that are up for adoption. So if this isn't the best pick for you, please come down and check out the many, many, many we have to choose from. If you don't have room in your home, as always, you can still help out. We always welcome volunteers. We have a great group of volunteers right now. We could always use more. You can spend time with the cats. You can take the dogs for walks. You can help with getting them adopted. We have a large variety of things that need help with. If you don't have time and don't have room in your home, again, if you still want to help, you can go to our website at Pima.gov/animal care. I'm sorry, they recently changed that. You can go on our website, and on the front page of the website, the green box that says donate, you can click and donate money. So any amount is welcome. No amount is too small, no amount is too big. If you're unable to do any of those things, I would encourage you, if you already have pets in your homes, please spay and neuter them. If one thing we need to do to keep down this population of excess cats and dogs that don't have homes is get them to stop reproducing out in the world, so that we don't have such a large quantity of them. There are over 300 dogs in our facility at any given time. That's 300 dogs in our community that don't have homes. And that doesn't even include the dogs that are just out in the street and just haven't made it to a shelter yet. And we're not the only animal shelter in town. There are several private shelters. So as you can imagine, the pet population problem is a huge problem. And one of the few ways we can help reduce that is to spay and neuter our pets. So again, this is Puner, and we're hoping he goes home sooner. And we can get him a new name and a place where he can live forever and not be tied to posts with no access to shelter and shade and water. We want him to be in a nice home where he's well taken care of. So please, if you have that to offer him, come on down and take a look at him. Our shelter is open from 12 to 7, Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on weekends. We're located at 4000 North Silver Bell Road. If you have any questions, you can call our licensing department. It's 243-5969. And again, we welcome you down there to volunteer, to look at the dogs, to help out in any way. These animals need lots of help from our community. If you've got the time, please help us out. Thank you.
Take a bow, Peter. Take a bow. That was for you.
Supervisor Elias?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks to Officer Bowden for all her hard work, and she even got a round of applause this morning after that speech about taking care of our animals. Let's give her another one, because they all work really hard, you know. They do. And I would say that, you know, Schooner is obviously named after a sailing ship. And so anyone who's owned a schooner, anyone in a purple shirt, and then let's just be totally random and say anybody whose name is Maya takes this dog home, District 5 would be glad to pay the freight so that you're able to adopt this dog and give it a nice home, okay?
Thank you.
So thank you all.
I would only point out, Supervisor Elias, that Maya is not in a purple shirt.
That's why I had to create a special exemption, because I didn't want people to think I was playing favorites or anything there, Supervisor.
All right, we have a couple changes to the agenda. On page 3, item number 10, executive session. Staff requests this item be continued to the Board of Supervisors meeting of May 14th, 2013. On page 3, item FC13, Flood Control District Board contract correction to resolution number. It should read resolution number 2013-FC4, not FC1. Again, FC4 is the correct designation. Without objection, those will be the changes to the agenda. Supervisor Bronson, were your guests here yet?
No, they have not.
All right. Well, in that case, Chair would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Motion and second to go into executive session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. We will return at the sound of the gavel at the end of executive session. Call this meeting back to order. Council?
Mr. Chairman, item 6 on the regular agenda concerned a claim filed by the Title Security Agency of Arizona as trustee under trust number 2003 and Valencia Kolb Properties LLC concerning the design and reconstruction of the Valencia Kolb intersection. The County Attorney's Office seeks direction to proceed as discussed in executive session.
Move the county attorney's recommendation to proceed as directed in executive session.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the county attorney's recommendation and proceed as discussed in executive session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, item 7 on the regular agenda concerns Foothills Real Estate LLC versus Pima County and Department of Revenue tax court case number TX 2012-127. This litigation involves valuation and classification of the former county-owned Posada del Sol Healthcare Center located south of Grant Road on the east side of Craycroft Road, consisting of 5 tax parcels. The proposed settlement would result in an estimated tax decrease of $125,335 for tax year 2012 and $76,325 for tax year 2013. The 2013 values will roll over to tax year 2014. The proposed settlement also changes the classification of the property from Class 1 to Class 4. The County Assessor and County Attorney's Office both recommend settlement.
Move the county attorney and assessor's recommendation.
Second.
Motion to approve the county attorney and assessor's recommendation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Council?
Mr. Chairman, item 8 on the regular agenda concerns Heights Properties LLP versus Pima County Tax Court case number 2012-612. This litigation involves valuation of a retail strip mall located on the north side of Broadway Boulevard east of Craycroft Road. The proposed settlement would result in an estimated tax decrease of $14,895 for tax year 2012 and $15,395 for tax year 2013. The 2013 values will roll over to tax year 2014. The assessor and the county attorney both recommend the settlement.
Move the county attorney and assessor's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the county attorney and assessor's recommendation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. By your vote of 4 to 1, motion carries. Council?
Mr. Chairman, item 9 on the regular agenda concerns another tax case, Dr. Sharad Pandi versus Pima County, tax court case number 2012-495. This litigation involves valuation of approximately 3.6 acres of vacant property located on the east side of Oracle Road between Rudisill Road and Las Lomitas Road. The owner is actually 5834 North Oracle Road property, an LLC of which Dr. Pandi is the sole member. The proposed settlement would result in an estimated tax decrease of $13,485 for each of the tax years 2012 and 2013, and the values will roll over to tax year 2014. The assessor and county attorney both recommend the settlement.
Move the county attorney and assessor's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the county attorney and assessor's recommendation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. By your vote of 4 to 1, motion carries. Council?
Mr. Chairman, item 1 on the agenda addendum concerns Honeywell International versus Pima County, tax court consolidated case numbers 2011-848 and 2012-791. This litigation involves valuation of a high-tech manufacturing complex known as Honeywell Aerospace Tucson, located on the east side of Oracle Road, north of First Avenue in Oro Valley. The proposed settlement would result in an estimated tax decrease of $72,550 for tax year 2012 and $103,485 for tax year 2013. The 2013 values will roll over to tax year 2014. The county assessor and county attorney both recommend settlement.
Move the county attorney and assessor's recommendation.
Second.
Motion to approve the county attorney and assessor's recommendation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Council?
Mr. Chairman, item 2 on the agenda addendum concerns HSL Airport Hotel LLC versus Pima County, tax court case 2012-461. This litigation involves valuation of a full-service hotel located in the area northeast of the Tucson International Airport. The proposed settlement would result in an estimated tax decrease of $92,290 for tax year 2012 and $101,500 for tax year 2013. The 2013 values will roll over to tax year 2014. Plaintiff has also agreed that all taxable personal property located at the subject property will be listed and assessed for tax years 2012 and 13, and the associated personal property tax is paid in full. The county assessor and county attorney's office recommend the settlement.
Move the county attorney and assessor's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the county attorney and assessor's recommendation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Council.
Mr. Chairman, item 3 on the agenda addendum concerns HSL EBS Properties LLC versus Pima County Tax Court Case number 2012-460. This litigation involves valuation of a hotel currently operating as an Embassy Suites located on the north side of Broadway Boulevard between Rosemont and Craycroft. The proposed settlement would result in an estimated tax decrease of $17,330 for tax year 2012 and $20,780 for tax year 2013. The values for 2013 will roll over to tax year 2014. The county assessor and the county attorney's office both recommend settlement.
Move the county attorney and assessor's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the county attorney and assessor's recommendation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Council.
Mr. Chairman, item 4 on the agenda addendum concerns Innovation Commerce Campus LLC versus Pima County, tax case number 2012-772. This litigation involves valuation of 2 parcels of vacant land zoned for industrial use located in Oro Valley on the east side of Rancho Vistoso Boulevard. The proposed settlement would result in an estimated tax decrease of $11,160 for tax year 2013. The 2013 value will roll over to 2014. The county assessor and county attorney's office both recommend settlement.
Move the county attorney and assessor's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the county attorney and assessor's recommendation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion carries. I believe that's it for executive session. Supervisor Bronson, I believe we have some special guests in the audience.
We do, and if we could get their teacher to come on up and introduce us to them. Andy, are you there? We have some student council members from Rio Vista Elementary.
And if you could please identify yourself for the record.
Okay. Chairman Valdez, Board of Supervisors, my name is, this is a little far away. My name is Andy Morales. I reside in the county, and I also teach at Rio Vista Elementary School, which is on Limberlost, across from the U of A Farms there, a mountain in Limberlost. And I brought my student council here. There's 16 of them.
Have them stand, Andy.
Okay.
Come on, stand.
They're from 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. Our school is Title I school, but we're also a No Excuses Network school, which means all of our kids plan on going to college. All of our classrooms have been adopted by a Division I college in the country, and they all know the fight songs of that college. And so these are the best of our school, and I expect a lot from these kids. And this is the first time any of them actually seen a real government in action. So.
That's wonderful. Andy, thank you for bringing them. I believe Supervisor Bronson may have something for them.
Thank you.
So they don't, you can't get them this till after they leave. We've got some pins and some frisbees and some maps.
Okay.
Yeah, this is stuff your government produces, so we want to make you aware of it. But you can pick it up from Andy after the meeting or as you leave,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you.
And I thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for being here, Andy. Appreciate Mr. Morales being here today, and certainly would love, now that you've come to see us here, I'm sure each supervisor would love to come to your school and visit and see how you operate as council members there. So I hope you'll welcome us. Please let Andy know, and I'd be happy, for one, to come over and visit your school and see how you're operating and what tips you can give me on how to be a better leader and a better politician. I think you might help. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I would add that one of Mr. Morales' relatives was a member of the Pima County Board of Supervisors, Hector Morales, and Mr. Morales also designed the logo that Pima County has during his tenure on the board. And he was an excellent member of the Tucson City Council, as well as a great member of the Pima County Board of Supervisors. So that's a good example for all of you, that family continues and family works in community still, building us all to make us stronger. And that's what we believe in, and we want you kids to succeed in every one of your dreams, in everything that you think about, in every way possible, okay? So best wishes to you all.
And certainly thank you for being here, and maybe we can, as Ray said, pick up some tips on how to do our jobs better. All right, moving on, Board of Supervisors, sitting as other boards, Flood Control District Board.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'll move item 11, award solicitation number 86380, item 12, contract, Town of Oro Valley, and item 13, which has been amended to read including resolution 2013 FC-4.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve item number 11, 12, and 13, and resolution number 2013-FC4. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session, consent calendar.
Mr. Chairman,
We do not have any cards. Supervisor Miller.
I'd like to pull item 22 to be voted on separately. 22.
22. Okay, the public art waiver on page 8. Oh,
Real
I'm sorry.
property. Yeah.
It's real property.
Sorry, the agenda
And
changed
it's
to
on page, yeah, it's on page 8.
page 8 on the consent.
I'm sorry.
So it wasn't item 22.
It's on page
On the-
17.
It's on page
Of the
17.
consent.
For future reference, if we
Yes.
could all reference the page number, it would be really helpful. Okay,
We'll do
page
that.
17, item number 23 of the consent calendar, which is school district number 12.
No, 22.
22
Oh,
is
22.
RES Equities LLC to provide for the purchase of properties located at 1505 East Apache Park Place and 1680 East Benson Highway.
Would you like to discuss it now, or would you like to vote separately?
I'd like to vote on it separately.
Okay.
If you want to do that now or after, that's,
Okay, Chair, I entertain a motion to approve the remainder of consent.
I'm so moved.
second.
Motion and a second to approve the remainder of consent minus item number 22 on page 17. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Supervisor Miller.
Regarding this purchase of this property for $1.5 million, given the financial issues in Pima County, as you know, in 2004, the Pima County taxpayers approved the construction of the $92 million Homeland Security Building. This was to house all emergency dispatch services for all the municipalities, police departments, fire departments in Pima County. They all initially agreed to do this. Since then, multiple agencies have pulled out of this agreement, and we are left with thousands of square feet of excess capacity. In lieu of spending an additional $1.5 million, I move we direct staff to investigate this available space to determine suitability of the existing location at the Homeland Security Department to accommodate the current request for storage for the Sheriff Department and bioterrorism cache for the Health Department. My motion would give the staff 2 weeks to study this, and I was wondering if that would be enough time for them to come back and vote on this on the May 21st meeting.
Mr. Willett, who would be the appropriate person to ask?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, we can be back in 2 weeks with a response. I don't know if we'll be ready to change gears at that point, but we certainly have more information about the option if that's what the board wants to do.
Yeah, I just toured this facility, and there is a tremendous amount of excess capacity out there, and I know it's a real concern on how we're going to use this facility, given that all of these various agencies are now not going to participate in using this facility, and there is a huge amount of space. And given that we've spent so much money on it, and I believe when I spoke to Captain Wilson, we're going to be spending in the neighborhood of $700,000 to $1 million a year in operations and maintenance costs for this facility. So if we can save money in any way, and it seems to me a bioterrorism cache would be the perfect spot for this in this very secure facility to store items like that. So that's why I'm
You're going to move to
proposing this.
continue for 2 weeks?
Yes.
Second.
So for the sake of clarification, what you're asking for is for staff to investigate the possibility of using the
The Homeland Security
right,
facility.
off of 22nd for the storage that they would want to use this.
For the
so-
storage of the sheriff department
Okay.
items, which isn't that far from the sheriff department, and also for the bioterrorism cache for the health department. Those were the two items that were listed, and the reason that behind purchasing this $1.5 million facility. I just believe that we need to try to save money any way we can, and I would like to see that investigated. And since we do have this excess capacity, and we're already paying to maintain the other facility.
Is there other questions?
Yeah, I have a question with regards to that I would like to hear answered as a part of it. I have concerns about moving that type of facility into an intensely residential area, which the PC Wind facility is. Those homes are right adjacent to that subject property, and we ought to be respectful of those neighbors, especially with that ugly antenna that we put right there. I'm sure that there's a lot of harsh feelings about that too. But anyways, I just think that needs to be included in the questions that Ally's asked here.
Other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, I understand that this is the old warehouse. It was listed under Ron Sternberg. Is this closed? Are we seeing this after the fact? This is still in escrow, still a live deal? Who do I direct that to?
Neil.
Oh, Neil.
Mr. Consbeck.
No,
We can't hear you.
oh,
Ron's Produce, is that who used to be in this building?
can you hear me now? Okay, yes. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is not closed. This contract is here for approval by the board at this time.
And there's no problem with the 2-week continuance in terms of how the transaction is structured?
I don't believe there is a problem with a 2-week continuance. I know that there are some leases that were being terminated based upon the availability of this facility, but that's something you'd have to direct to facilities management.
Okay.
He says thumbs up.
I was suggesting the 2-week continuance just to give you time to evaluate it. If you want it back next week, I'm fine with that, if that gives you time to evaluate it.
Mr. Konigsberg, do we get to see the deal points of this deal? Like, how much land is there? How many square feet? How much of it was office versus warehouse? Can you send us the information so we can look at it during the next?
Sure.
I've got the
Period.
details
Yes.
on that lease, and it expires
Oh.
August 31st, 2013. So, and the other lease doesn't expire until August 31st, 2017 for the health department. Now, this bioterrorism cache, I'm not sure exactly what that is. I don't think it's any weaponized materials. I believe it's to fight an attack, and am I correct in that? So I don't think it would be bringing hazardous materials into that neighborhood. So,
I'd prefer to have our professionals answer that question.
well, I just asked,
And since you have that lease information, do you know whose leases are being terminated at that site?
the health department lease for the bioterrorism cache is going to be expiring August 31st, 2017, and the Pima County Sheriff Department warehouse is going to be expiring August 31st, 2013.
Were those the leases you were referring to, Mr. Konisberg?
Yeah. I refer
So
that
it's all
to,
inside the house. That was not really a straight answer you gave us. Thank you.
This
I
information
need
came
to
from
refer
Mr.
that to-
Spalding.
correct.
All right, are there any questions, comments? If not, I've got one as well. Richard brought up an interesting point. I want to make sure that if that's an issue, that I should know about it. What exactly are we storing in this location? Can anyone answer that?
Mr. Chairman, it's not, Supervisor Miller is correct. It's a lease that we have that deals more with the, and I believe we have people from Homeland Security here as well, training. We do not have, it's not a cache of things that we train people in bioterrorism. We're protecting this, and so it's not that kind of equipment. But we can do a full analysis of what is entailed in the lease and what we would be moving into neighborhoods within, and we'll return at the 2 weeks.
And I might add that this is a very secure facility so that no one can even get close to it. When I was out there doing the tour, they have it very, very secure, so it's not the kind of place
I don't
where...
think you know that particularly. I don't see how you can say that.
I
right
do
there in
know
front
it
of these
because I
folks.
just barely did the tour with Captain Wilson and Mike Hine of the Department of Homeland Security, so
Well, I'm glad
that's
you're
what
an
they
expert.
informed me. Thank you.
What do I suggest is that maybe what we do is let's get back to it. If next week is appropriate and enough time, then let's go ahead and get next week. If you need 2 weeks, then go ahead, then take the 2 weeks. But let's do an overall assessment, both of what we're going to be storing, whether or not it's appropriate to have it in a residential neighborhood, whether or not there's an issue with the lease, whether or not, and all the other issues that were addressed by the board on the dais. Okay, so
So my,
Chair would entertain a motion.
Oh, I did. I moved and she seconded that we continue.
She did? Oh, okay. Okay, so we'll continue the item for a maximum of 2 weeks with to address the issues that have been brought up on the dais. Correct?
Yes.
yes.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. By unanimous vote, motion carries. Let's see here. All right, moving on to item number 16 and resolution number 2013-31.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move item 16 and resolution 2013-31.
Motion is second to approve item number 16 and resolution number 2013-31. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 17.
What page is that on? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, page 4.
Page 4.
I'm back on the consent.
Oh, okay. We're back on the regular.
Yeah.
We did the same thing earlier.
Okay.
Okay, we're now on item number 17. Okay.
I move to approve item number 17, contract with Quest Communications, unfinished business from April 16, 2013.
Second. Motion and a second to approve item number 17. All those in favor? please
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a substitute motion. Move to continue this item for the first meeting in June.
Okay. There is a substitute motion and a second to move to continue this item to first meeting of June.
Mr. Chairman, I have several questions. I am on reviewing some of the information. I'm concerned actually about the cost per unit to maintain a phone. I think that's $30 a year. It's gone up substantially. We have over 5,300 phones, and we're looking at $2 million per year. That doesn't include printer or Ethernet ports. These are charged on a per port basis, so the revenue to IT is much higher than I think was indicated. And going back to the cost reduction, once we go through these various phases, there should be some cost reduction once all the transitions are completed. So I would ask that we add the projected cost reduction to the department's budgets, that we get that information. I still haven't gotten information about the exit interviews that I asked for earlier. And I'm not sure. I think Supervisor Elias, you had some concerns.
Yeah,
But I think, that, you know, what I'm asking, when I first was in engineering school, I paid $800 for a calculator that scientific calculator. I can get a computer for that now. The costs for IT are going up substantially. It's no longer an investment. It really is an expense, and we need to get a handle on those expenses. And with that, I'll defer to Supervisor Elias.
Yeah, I share Supervisor Bronson's concerns, and we have yet to receive full answers from previous questions that we had from our IT department. And I feel a little uncomfortable moving forward with this until we have a better idea of what we're dealing with. Bells and whistles are good for management. I'm concerned with our folks out there in the public being able to call in, and since we have very few receptionists anymore, they need to have a phone system that works easily and simply for them so they can get in touch with the right people and find the right information. This is a part of that. Clearly, this is a part of it. But I think until we feel more comfortable about the costs related to it and the department itself, I'm going to feel more comfortable waiting on making these decisions. So I'd ask everybody who's an employee who suffers with a difficult phone to hang in there. Help is on the way, but this is a huge expense, and it's one that's not going away. It's going to continue to grow, so we need to make sure that we're on strong footing on this one. Thank you.
And I guess I have some other concerns with just this whole voice over internet protocol. What happens if our network fails? If our phones fail, how do we communicate? And I understand, at least from some of the information, that there is a problem maybe with this voice over with its compatibility with the 9/11 systems. That has to be addressed. But you know, we're talking $4 million in one fiscal year. Again, I think we're going to see these things are necessary. We're living in the internet age. We're living in an IT age. But, and this is not to, again, we're not, it's not so much what IT is doing as the point that the world is changing so rapidly when it comes to these, to the internet and to electronic communication. Before we go forward with some rather large expenses, I need to be assured as a policymaker that we're doing it in a thoughtful way, that we have the correct backups, that we have protocols. So not everyone needs a Cadillac. You know, as we install these phone systems, as our employees get them, you know, who's making the decision, who gets what bells and whistles? Is there any way to bring down costs? I guess that's my focus.
Let me ask a question. Mr. Bittner, we're looking at a delay until June 4th on this issue. Will that create an issue in terms of the contract?
No, that should not create an issue, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bittner.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion before us is on the continuance of item number 17 on the regular agenda to the Tuesday, June 4th board meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to item number 18.
Mr. Chairman, under Office of Emergency Management, Community Wildfire Protection Project, I move the item.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 18. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Boys, come on, step up to the plate.
Come on, Ray,
We need to
speak.
get, okay, good.
He said it telepathically.
Okay.
I heard him. Motion carries. Moving on to item 19 and resolution number 2013-32. I do have one speaker on the item. Let me call him up at this point. Tony Bruno, please come up. Tony, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Chairman Valadez, Board of Supervisors. My name is Tony Bruno. I live at 28200 South Foxwood Way, Amado, Arizona, Pima County. I'm just here to thank Hank Atha, Margaret Kish, and Daniel for the time and effort they put into the CDBG grants. They do a King Solomon version. They always have more funding requests than they have funding to allocate. I'm here representing both Desert Sanita Community Health Center in Ajo, Arizona, as well as the Arivaca Action Center. And we just would like to thank you and your staff for the recommendation for future funding to improve services and facilities in rural Pima County. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. And I really want to commend Daniel. Your presentations to us this year were extraordinary. We finally really got a handle on some of the data. The presentation farm was exemplary, and I just want to congratulate you for your efforts and recognize you for them.
I appreciate as well, Mr. Chairman, both Margaret Kish and Daniel Tailuki and the efforts that you've made. We hope that our appointments to your outside agencies and other action groups have been showing up and being helpful. But thank you for coming up and presenting this to us. And I know it's had a lot of thought put into it, and it's difficult, but we appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
And now if you could just please come up to the dais and read all of them individually.
No. Give us
Well,
a
I have
summary.
some questions.
Supervisor Elias.
You know, CDBG has been used in this community of Pima County for many years to serve the needs of low-income people. And those funds have been dramatically cut over the years. And at this point, last time I checked, I believe the current amount of CDBG that we are going to receive is less than we received in 1992, which was the,
High-end year.
pardon me?
It was the highest year, wasn't it?
Might have been the highest year, but nevertheless, we have not gained ground. And in fact, the residents of District 5 have had their services have been diminished considerably because there has been a reduction in the amount of CDBG money. And that's troubling to me, that's troubling to my constituents. Fortunately, many of them live inside the city of Tucson as well, so they're able to receive some services through CDBG, through City of Tucson funds. But it's problematic, and there's a great lesson in all of this, and that's that CDBG dollars are extremely valuable to our community, and all of them end up in the private sector's hands. It seems that we fund nonprofits and programs for low-income people, but every single one of those dollars ends up in a private business's hands eventually. That's important to notice. That's important to recognize that this is a part of government that serves us all, that serves low-income people, and also is very important to the business community as well. So I just wanted to make those comments in recognizing that District 5 gets the short shift.
The short what?
The short
Shift? Okay.
You can laugh, but it's not funny to
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would like to address that. I went through and analyzed all of these items, and I think what I found was that it was District 1 and District 4 that get the least amount of money, and you are next. And so, yeah, and it is. There is a real shortage of funds, and I agree with you. I'm not making light of that. But I'd just like to say District 1 gets the least amount of all of these monies, and you can go through and do the analysis. I did a spreadsheet and went through it, and there was one request in District 1 that got cut from $125,000 down to $25,000. The rest of it is all shared, so it'll remain to be seen how much each of the districts get. But I think it should be equitably, and obviously there's more need in some communities than others.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. District 5 has a lot more low-income people in it than District 1 or District 4. So the need is considerably greater there, and that has to be really the determining factor about how those dollars are spent.
Mr. Chairman.
So, Mr. Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, thank you again for, I guess, giving us a chance to go further into this. I do appreciate the effort, even in District 4, where I can be grateful that there aren't what are called stressed areas to the degrees of Districts 3, 2, or 5. But I will say that even though some areas were not quote-unquote stressed areas, like, for example, the Tanque Verde Fire District, we did have a request that was funded, I thought, reasonably, and although it was only about a quarter funded, it was more important that they had the chance to present, and they had the elation of being awarded not all of what they wanted, but at least part, and it gave them a good foothold on what they need to do out there in their fire district. So I do appreciate, I never have made a big deal about these CDBG or outside agencies funding majorities going to the districts that are represented by supervisors in the majority here. I think it's not anything but an obvious relation of the facts that the stressed areas do remain in the cities and in the rural areas that are represented by Supervisor Bronson. So thanks very much for giving us the chance to really dig into this, and again, congratulations to those that help make these decisions and the staff that guide them through the process.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'll go ahead and move item 19, Annual Action Plan, including Resolution 2013-32.
Second.
Motion and second to approve item 19 and resolution number 2013-32. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to items 20 and 21. What's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, oh, go ahead. I was just going to move the items. Okay.
Second.
I'll go ahead and move item 20 and 21.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 20 and 21. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 22.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Miller.
my office contacted Nancy Cole regarding this issue on the public art waiver, and this is a pilot program to remove this public art in the amount of $65,000 for this road improvement from Orange Grove to La Cholla Boulevard. We asked if there were any other projects, road projects, in which this 1% art was going to be removed, and there are none other than District 1, this particular project. And I wouldn't object if I knew where the money was going, the $65,000. And also, the thing that bothers me is that this is just a District 1, is the only district that is, there are no other projects that are coming up that are going to be having the public art removed. So if we're going to remove 1% public art from District 1, we need to do it from all districts. We only have one public art project in District 1. I just met with the Pima Public Arts Council, and that's up by the Foothills Mall. So I don't understand why we're just removing this in District 1. And if I don't think that if we're going to do this pilot program, we need to do it across the board. So that's my position on this.
Mr. Chairman?
Let me ask, I believe that was a question, correct? Why it's being removed?
Yes.
Ms. Cornelio?
Or Mr. Bernal.
Or Mr. Bernal, whichever one's more appropriate.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, it's not so much the District 1 project, it's Orange Grove project that we have advanced was a straightforward widening project. We were looking to show that we could take that simple a project, expedite its execution and in project delivery and save costs. And we've accomplished that, and this was just a part of that strategy to minimize costs. But we're certainly able to install public art on this project, as we have with all other projects. And incidentally, any District 1 project where we've taken on major widening and amenities like landscaping and sidewalks, they've all had public art. This was just an attempt to see how fast we could move on a project and how much money could be saved.
Okay, then when we called her, why wouldn't we be doing this on all projects in all districts to save costs instead of just this particular project?
I think Ms. Cole was saying we certainly don't have anything programmed right now that would eliminate public art, but as we go forward, if we have a similar project anywhere else, we'd propose similar action.
What makes this project unique from other projects that get public art?
The project itself, as I said, first of all, the need here on Orange Grove was just to add traffic capacity. It's a 3-lane roadway that's carrying a great deal of traffic. This segment from Orange Grove, Oracle to I-10 is a key corridor where, frankly, we've had a great deal of interest from, past representatives. Supervisor Day was always insistent that we advance this project. We finally got around to moving it forward. But we did not do the ultimate section here. It's strictly, again, a quick widening project that we were doing as quickly and as at low cost as possible.
Well, that I would approve this again if we are able to look at other district projects and not just in District 1 to be removing the public art, because we have very little public art up there to begin with. And I'd like to know where the $65,000 is going. Is that going to be put into maybe some road improvements in District 1?
The dollars that are being applied here, yes, would absolutely stay with the available transportation improvement dollars.
So that would go into one of the road improvement funding sources so that we could get maybe some potholes filled?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
you know, I concur with Supervisor Miller. I agree with her, although I disagree with her premise in the end. Public art is important to all of us. And the 1% for Art program that we have here in the county and in the city of Tucson is in fact an award-winning model nationwide that has improved our community, quite honestly, in a very important way. Road projects have been getting done, and the art attached to them is important and good-looking and helps us all along the way. It is not a simple thing to replace roads, particularly in the urban infrastructure, which is crumbling after years and years and years of use. And public art is an important facet of improving the inner city as well. So unlike Supervisor Miller, who says, well, then we should cut off all the districts, I think it's a bad idea to cut off any of the districts. I think we should all stand together and make sure that public art continues to improve the lives of people. It is costly, but it is an important facet of road building that studies all over the country have shown improve the quality of life for people who live in our community. So I'm opposed to this waiver, and I'm particularly offended by it being a pilot program, because this is the start of something bad then.
Mr. Chairman?
This is the start of something where, quite honestly, other projects are going to get cut off, perhaps needlessly and perhaps wrongly. So to me, I'd rather keep an award-winning program in place than to go down a road that ultimately is going to hurt our community and its quality of life.
I wasn't saying that we cut off all public art funding in the future, but my point was if we're going to cut it off in District 1, then we need to evaluate all the districts. That was my point. It needs to be fair across the board, that if we're going to take public art out of District 1, we need to do it in all. It wasn't, I am voting to remove all public art, so I agree with you, Richard.
Thank you. And likewise, I think it's just a matter of semantics. Some see it half full and some see it half empty.
Mr. Bernal, I have a question that I thought I heard you say. You talked about the, this is Orange Grove, correct?
Yes.
The improvement was to build capacity, but you seem to indicate that this was a small segment of an overall project, or?
Mr. Chairman, the ultimate cross-section for Orange Grove Road would more than likely involve a median, a raised median as we have on Ina. And this is a 1.5 mile stretch of road between Oracle and I-10, which is about a 4.5 mile stretch of road. Mm-hmm. And it's been, admittedly, it's been just piecemealed over time just to add lanes to make sure we can get traffic through there. So that's really what this project is about, is adding some traffic lanes to expedite the movement of traffic through there.
Is this a county-only project, or is this one of our corridor building, capacity building?
It's county-only.
County-owned.
Okay. And it was I agree with some of the comments that have been made by my colleagues here. I don't believe we should undo something that was done by even a previous board, to be honest with you. I think two of our members were the only ones here when that was done. But public art is very important. My question then deals with, if you look at Oracle, or excuse me, the Orange Grove between Oracle and I-10 that you're talking about, my concern then becomes, I can understand where if you're doing it piecemeal, a small portion of it may not have a public art component, but I think the overall needs to make sure that we have the 1% that we've talked about and required by this board for the past decades. Was that ever thought out, or?
Well, Mr. Chairman, let me make two comments. One about the pilot project. The pilot project wasn't to explore whether we should eliminate public art everywhere. It was how best can we advance projects quickly and cost effectively. And of course, this was a portion of that. But to respond to your question directly, this whole stretch of Orange Grove Road is a major east-west arterial in the northwest area. Ultimately, we think we'll see, fortunately, I think we can buy some time with the widening we're doing now. Ultimately, I think we will see a project, as I said, similar to INA, where you've got a much wider cross-section, much additional amenities, including a very good complement of public art, no doubt.
Right, and I guess the other point that I wanted to make sure that was really clear is that, like I said, this board and the previous board have made their commitment to public art and making sure that our county projects have them. I agree with what my colleagues have said before, is that in terms of a precedent, this isn't really a place I think, at least me as a supervisor, would be wanting to go. So I think we need to be careful in the future about these kinds of requests, just simply because we've made such a commitment, and this is a step back, but it's a dangerous step back, simply because it undoes the precedent that we've set everywhere throughout this community. So I think my colleagues in their comments before are both correct, and I agree with them. Other comments?
Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Supervisor Carroll.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have no problem with this project being considered, and obviously when a road project is over budget, it would be a great time to discuss the possibility of eliminating the 1% requirement to meet that over budget expense. The expenditures that I see that for engineering and other soft costs, they have usually gone over what they were budgeted. So I don't have a problem with you value engineering projects in District 4, and if you find that they're over the estimate, then considering, I hope you will discuss with District 4 or my office how we can best utilize the money to improve roadways, and secondarily, the landscaping and other amenities that are added to your road projects, even without the public art, have been satisfactory throughout the district. So thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that.
Supervisor Brownson.
Mr. Chairman, let me provide a little historical perspective, but let me say first that I concur with my colleagues that we have worked hard to assure that there is public art in major projects. But historically, I mean, when I first took office, the county was way behind in our capacity building, particularly in the Northwest. And thanks to the efforts of staff and Department of Transportation, we did make a few quick improvements. I think one was at Orange Grove and La Choya to move traffic through. It was an interim solution to a longer-term challenge. And I think I hear, Mr. Bernal, that this is sort of in that same category, maybe elevated a little bit, but this is trying to recognize we have a serious capacity issue on Orange Grove, trying to seek an interim solution as we move forward with a longer-term solution. Am I misrepresenting that?
No, Madam, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Rensselaer, you're correct.
Supervisor Miller, what would you like to do?
I move that we keep this public art in this project. I'm moving not to waive this public art.
There's a motion and a second to deny the waiver. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 23.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the item.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 23. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Hearings, franchises, license permits, items 24 through 26.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Leos.
I'll go ahead and move items 24, 25, and 26 and close public hearings.
Second.
Motion in double seconds to close the public hearing and approve item 24 through 26. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to items 27, 28, and 30, and ordinance number 2013-21, 23, 24, and 25.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Miller.
I have some issues with agenda item 28,
Okay.
29, and 30.
Okay, please proceed.
Item number 28, the dot 18 has her funding identified as funding the phase. There was 1997 HERF bonds for the Marana portion to Camino de Oeste, and Pima County portion from Camino de Oeste to Thornydale. I understand the design for the whole project has been complete and the Marana portion is completed. However, there's a placeholder that's identifying $594,000 of HERF monies, which are specific for road repairs. And we have the same issue on dot 29, where 8.7 million of HERF road repair funds are being, or excuse me, 8.7 million in HERF repair funds are being identified for this widening capacity increase. Now, we have lots of different funds that we can only use for capacity increases. However, on these projects, which are specifically capacity increases, we are committing future HERF funds for this widening capacity increase, and I don't think we should be doing that. And I know I discussed it with Priscilla, and I still have a problem with using future HERF funds for these widening and capacity increases.
Mr. Chairman.
Let me ask one thing. Did you have a question on that issue that you wanted addressed?
Yes, I would like to pull both of these items out and as separate items to vote on.
The Marana segments of dot 18 and dot 29?
Yeah, the dot 18 and dot 29.
On item number 28, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that's off agenda item 28.
Okay. Supervisor Brunson?
Mr. Chairman, I certainly understand Supervisor Miller's concern about using HERF revenues, which are meant to be directed toward maintenance and pavement preservation. However, there was an election, a bond election in 1997, and voters approved using these HERF revenues for these purposes, unfortunately. It was not a bond, I think it was not a bond packet that I supported for the very reasons Supervisor Miller mentions, but the voters spoke, and I feel we have to honor the voters.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Miller.
In my discussion with Department of Transportation Director Cornelio, these HERF funds were identified as not being from those 1997 bonds, but future HERF revenues coming into the county, and she's nodding her head yes back there. I specifically asked that question because the 1997 bond money is not identified. This is identified as future HERF revenues that we will receive back from the state. Am I correct, Priscilla?
Ms. Cornelio?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, for the Cortera Farms job and the $594,000, it has been spent already. I mean, in the past. That's basically showing. For the Houghton Road dot 29 project, we are showing it to sort of a housekeeping to have the bottom line be the same, but this project, Houghton Road, is not going to occur until 2020 in terms of, so we're hoping at some time in the future that our revenues will start to get better, that we don't need to be tacking, using the monies that literally between building a new road or maintaining a road, that hopefully in the future it'll improve and we'll have more revenues.
Mr. Chairman, Regarding dot 18, I understood that that money had not been spent, but thank you for clarifying that. But dot 29, I am against committing 8.7 million because hopefully that it'll improve. We all know that the HERF revenue's going down, and we're having serious issues with that. Plus, we're using those HERF revenues to pay off the $122 million in bonds from the 1997 bond issue. Plus what we end up, in addition to that, approving, we still have $78 million that have been approved but not yet issued. So that's very concerning to me that we're committing that amount of HERF money. If we had funding TBD, I'd be okay with that, but I don't want to commit that HERF money because that's specifically for road repairs, and we're already in trouble with road repairs. 72% of the roads in District 1, 61% of the roads in Pima County, the repairs have not been done and have not been done, and my concern is we're going to be using this money or committing this money by this vote for a capacity increase, which I think we should find the funding elsewhere. So I wouldn't have a problem if you change that to a 8.7 million TBD.
To be determined, can we use, you could use general fund revenues.
Or
I mean,
RTA.
or art, well, that's a little more difficult, but possible. So why were future HERF revenues, I guess, identified when we already have serious pavement preservation issues? How was that determination made?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Bronson, this was the amount of money, the overall amount of money that is going to be needed for the Houghton Road project, and I suppose we were trying to make it the bottom line. To me, it was filling in the money, and as I've sort of said to Supervisor Miller, that from my perspective in the Department of Transportation, I don't like using any HERF money on any of our capital projects as we go forward. As an example, on Cortera Farms Road, that I'm able to go and get regional monies to replace it, any of our HERF monies. And in terms of Houghton Road, I see that coming down in the future, but it's going to be way off into the future, about 2020. And it was a placeholder showing, so that the bottom line showing what the true costs are on Houghton Road. But it was my expectation that before we get around to 2020 and needing to spend it, we will find additional other source of revenues.
Can we, instead of do we have to identify a specific funding source? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
We can't just do to be determined.
But and Supervisor Bronson, that's exactly what I would sort of say. We could perhaps say unfunded to be determined, that amount of the HERF monies. Absolutely.
Okay.
As long as it's removed, Mr. Chairman, as long as it's removed, that it is identified as HERF monies, because that's repair money, maybe we could put in a funding, 8.7 million funding to be determined in the future, if that works.
Does that work?
I just don't want to commit this road repair money.
Ms. Slusser, is the language okay?
Supervisor Bronson, Supervisor Miller, we do have a category called unfunded in our capital program, so we can call that it's a placeholder, so we can do
fine.
that. Okay, as long as we change that language, then I remove my objections.
And you had issues with, I believe, 29 and 30?
Yes. Number 29, okay. The general obligation bonds for the 60,000 square foot facility known as the Homeland Security Center. The City of Tucson and other organizations backed out of this agreement. And my question is there an IGA in place now to ensure that they live up to the obligation? And what is to stop the City of Tucson from contracting with fire districts at a cheaper rate than Pima County can charge the Homeland Security Center? It's a real concern to me that we invested all this money without having IGAs in place with these various organizations, and now we're Pima County taxpayers are on the hook to pay the maintenance costs for this, and are going to be stuck with this bill each year. That's why I made the motion that we consider using this facility for the previous item on there. And the revision states $13 million more in grant money is needed for the minimum desired system. Is this in addition to the $12 million in grant money that we've already received, or is that what this $13 million is identified as?
Captain Wilson?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, the addendum, or I'm sorry, the amendments to the bond ordinance for this project really only address two particular things. First of all, adjusting the agencies that were specifically called out in the bond implementation plan for being the beneficiaries, if you will, for the radio project. That didn't afford the staff flexibility in allowing for other entities, whether governmental or public-private type of entities, to participate in the project. And so the First Amendment would strike those pieces of that to give more flexibility. We've already entertained interest from Rural Metro Corporation, Ajo Ambulance as an example, and 4 other fire districts that weren't originally included in the bond ordinance. So it would enable us to engage those folks. And then secondly, the other amendment also allows for the Executive Management Committee, which is the primary governing body that's governing the project, to elect its own chair and vice chair, as opposed to that being the sheriff exclusively appointed as the chair. To answer some of the other questions, however, which are really not related to the amendments, the $13 million number that you see there was in the original language of the bond implementation plan. It hasn't changed. We've not requested to amend that. We have received a little over $10 million in federal funding, which seems to be sufficient to fully fund the project at this point. As far as the use of the facility, the City of Tucson has not pulled out of the facility. It's always been intended that they have a backup capacity at that facility, which has been built into it. We do not yet have a tenant lease with them. The building is not yet complete with all of the equipment and capabilities that are needed for that backup, but we do anticipate doing that with the city. And then I guess to the last point, the city does still plan to contract with a consortium of fire districts, those being members of the Northwest Consortium, to continue to provide dispatch services for those agencies out of the second building that's also being renovated partially with the bond funding at the city's Thomas Price Service Center.
Supervisor Miller.
Okay, that answers my questions. Thank you, and withdraw my objection to that one.
Wait, let me make sure are there other questions on 29? Okay, Supervisor Miller.
This is item 29. The bond funding was originally $76 million for the justice courts. And I know the language isn't being changed, but at the end of 2011, approximately $22 million was moved out of the general fund to fund this court project. And I just wondered if there's anyone here who can answer the question as to when and how we're going to be paid back for this obligation that was pulled out of the Pima County General Fund, because we desperately need this money for road repairs and other expenses. And this wasn't addressed in this amendment, but I want to know when we are going to be paid back for that $22 million that was taken out of the general fund in 2011.
I'm not really sure who to address that question to.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, I don't know. I see Tom stepping back to the microphone. He might be better equipped to address that.
Tom?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, the $22 million that the board approved to transfer over to subsidize the funding of the downtown court complex did come basically from the general fund. For a county purpose, which is an appropriate use of the general fund, it wasn't given as a loan. The repayment, so to speak, would not actually come from a specific source. Some of the facility is going to be available for rental space, so there'd be revenues coming from that. There's been discussion with the justice courts about an additional surcharge on some of the filing fees that would bring in some revenues, but it's not actually a loan to be paid back in the normal means of a loan. It originally was to be paid back partly by rent from the city of Tucson, who was going to occupy 45–50% of the space. But now we'll be putting other county facilities in it, so it would be providing space for general fund county departments, which would normally be a general fund cost.
Okay.
Supervisor Miller?
I still believe that that was a lot of money to pull out of the general fund in a time when we're really in trouble here in Pima County. Taking care of our roads specifically is an issue that we have. To use this money to build a courthouse, I don't think was an appropriate use. It's already happened, and I'm hoping that we do get some of this money back. But thank you for the information. And the last item on item 30, agenda item 30, on the psychiatric hospital. We spent $48 million and built this new hospital, and it says operations and maintenance are estimated to be $2.5 million per year. The only question I have on that one is, have we got a signed agreement with U of A South Campus to pay these annual maintenance costs?
Ms. Lusher.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, we have contracts and IGAs with both the Crisis Response Center, which is a separate corporation and run by the Community Partnership of Southern Arizona, and the University of Arizona for the Behavioral Health Pavilion. So yes, we do have operating agreements in place to offset the costs.
Okay, thank you. And then there were $360,000 in bonds left over, and what this amendment says is that this will be used for capital improvements to the Abrams facility owned by Pima County so that the university can use it for metabolic studies, and it states they will pay back with a 5-year lease the $360,000 plus operations and maintenance costs. Have we identified how much the operation maintenance costs are, and do we have a contract for this 5-year agreement?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, we are negotiating with the university right now. We are in draft form with the lease over a 5-year agreement for their proportionate share of the cost.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on these items? Hearing none, what's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, let me move item 27 in ordinance 2013-22 first.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve, to close the public hearing and approve item number 27 and ordinance number 2013-22. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, let me move item 28 as amended with the language, is it to be determined?
It's unfunded capital projects.
Unfunded capital projects.
Under dot 29.
Under dot 29, and I will move ordinance 2013-23 and close the public hearing.
Second.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Leos.
what does that do to these projects in terms of timeline?
Ms. Cornelio.
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Elias, nothing. I
Nothing.
mean, we have these all programmed and you know, our 5-year capital program that's adopted by the board, and as well as, you know, our bond amendments. So it changes, your action today changes nothing.
Well, that's a nice thing to say.
No,
Thank
I
you.
shouldn't have said
That's
that
okay.
that well. No, I'm saying that it's
It
in
does
our,
no harm, that's what you meant,
it
right?
does no harm. I'm sorry.
Glad to know we mean nothing.
No.
All right, I believe we have a motion before us to close the public hearing and approve item number 19 or 28, ordinance number 2013-23, with the removing the HERF funding from dot 29 and placing it under the category of unfunded capital projects. Is there any further discussion?
Was that the only one Supervisor Miller was talking about? I understood she had 2 or 3 other projects on that one. Am I mistaken, Ally?
I had 2, and
I thought so.
And
Same thing.
Ms. Cornelio explained that the funds on the other one had already been spent.
Oh.
So, thank you.
I believe
Forgive
she
me,
had pulled
forgive
her
me.
objection on dot 18, which was
yes.
the other objection.
Yeah.
No,
Thank you.
meaning nothing, you mean.
I second the motion.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 29.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have nothing to change on those two, 29 and 30.
No, not based on the language that they
Okay,
were changing.
okay.
I just had a couple of questions. Thank
All
you.
right, then I am going to move item 29 and 30 in ordinances 2013-24 and 25 and close public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to do nothing and to approve item number 29 and 30. Sorry, couldn't help myself. And ordinance number 2013-24 and 25. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. And at this point, just we're going to go ahead and recess for about 10 minutes, take a break. And we will return at the sound of the gavel. Call this meeting back to order. If everyone could please find their seats. We are in development services. Item number 31, I believe we've heard this a couple of times. Is there a staff report that report anything new?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you have heard the home occupation zoning code text amendment a couple times previously. The board directed staff to specifically remove the home baked good component of that home occupation zoning code text amendment. That is what is being brought before you today. If the board does approve the proposed amendment, it would allow then people to produce home baked and confectionery goods as a home occupation. Currently, the zoning code prohibits all commercial food preparation as a home occupation. The previous version of this amendment had included a full expansion to allow the potential for all commercial food preparation. That would have included then the possibility of a catering company. After listening to a lot of neighbor concern, neighbor opposition, we did bring this back, very confined to the state statute change that occurred in 2011. Again, just focusing on the exception on the home-baked and confectionery goods. Those are products that are typically baked, things that you could leave out and won't spoil. They would meet this program. The state still regulates the program. They just provided an exception from the full commercial kitchen and health department requirements. So we are essentially aligning then this home occupation amendment to be aligned with state statutes.
I do have one speaker. Would the board like to hear the speaker at this point?
Yes.
All right. Let me ask Judith Meyer to please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board, for this opportunity. I'm representing the Tucson Mountains Association at the request of its president, Ivy Schwartz, who could not be here today. There was apparently a miscommunication between Ms. Schwartz and Elva Pedrego for the county, who had indicated this was not to be heard today, that it had to go to planning and zoning first. But that's the rest of the ordinance, apparently. The baked goods part was correctly on the agenda. So I'm sorry that we didn't get anything in writing in ahead of time. I feel that this is like deja vu all over again. I made precisely the same objections, and I believed that the board had asked Development Services to address the objections last time. The objections have to do with operating a commercial bakery on a private road not maintained by the county and not giving notice to the people who reside there. After the last meeting, I invited Mr. Poirier to visit our road so that he would understand that I'm not just giving him a hard time. We have sandbags holding up the side of our road by a ditch. We're trying to get reasonable advice on how to solve the problem. We were totally washed away in 2 storms last year. Totally. It was not possible to bring in an ambulance or a fire truck into our neighborhood. But I represent the association because we have many people in the Tucson Mountains who are, and its foothills, who are similarly affected. We are on roads that were built in for wildcat developments that are not roads that are up to code. The county is not maintaining them, and no other government entity is. And let me just point out that those roads pre-exist Proposition 207. Development Services said something last time about Prop 207, meaning you couldn't prohibit people on those roads from operating home bakeries. On the contrary, there's no Prop 207 because before Prop 207 you were not able to operate those bakeries. There is, however, a Prop 207 issue if you increase or change the use on the road I own. Part of my road goes over my real estate. It's a private road, it's on my land, and you are increasing the cost to me to maintain that road on my land. I pay with 12 neighbors to maintain a road. I'm the first house on it. There are 12 others. If they're all operating bakeries, What about delivery trucks? What about pickup trucks? You know, 200 square feet is more than a lot of restaurants have in this community. 200 square feet allows a large kitchen operation. Who's making the deliveries of goods? Who's picking up those goods for sale? I'm looking for a limitation. And the issue isn't whether you can bake goods in your home for sale elsewhere. The issue is vehicular traffic. Our road gets damaged by delivery trucks. They don't live there. They don't understand why we need to be slow on dirt roads. And we have hazards that they're not aware of. All I'm looking for is a statement such as, so long as no more than 4 vehicular pickups and deliveries may be made per day, something that says before any permit can be issued to operate a commercial enterprise or a business on a road that's not maintained by the county or another government entity, all the owners of the property on the affected road should be notified and given an opportunity to be heard about the hazards of doing this, and no such permit should be issued without the consent of the owners of the road. You're changing the use from residential to something more. That's a Prop 207 issue, and I wouldn't hesitate to raise it. Thank you for your time.
Any questions?
Could staff respond?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Bronson, as part of the last package of the home occupation expansion, we were pursuing a lot of expansions with this regulation, expanding square footage across the board. We were proposing to expand the amount of clients coming and going from some of these uses. And I think one item that we did that led to some confusion was we were also proposing to add a additional expansion, which is we had proposed that any applicant could essentially double their limitations by way of a direct neighbor notice. We had originally proposed that through a 300-foot notice, which was very similar to another provision in the zoning code in regards to increasing the amount of children at a home-based daycare, that they could then do an expansion and avoid the Board of Adjustment. That then got us into a lot of discussion with neighbors about what notice is fair, what notice is sufficient. That was a new idea, a new concept, this direct notice for home occupation expansion. We're pulling it off the table. We're not proposing that at all. We are simply right now then relying on the existing home occupation ordinance. There are 13 standards right now that are designed to control a home occupation use, to keep it confined to something of a very similar to a residential nature. We're not proposing to waive any of those. Some of those include limitations on signage to make sure that...
No, we understand that. You haven't addressed her issue.
Her issue about notice?
Notifying folks who live on a road.
Sure.
Or
Well, not only notice, but the whole issue that it's a that it's a non-county maintained road.
The current code, today's home occupation, does not have any notice provision, and we had expressed our concern if we're going to introduce some type of new notice provision into the zoning code. We do have Proposition 207 concerns, because arguably then we're making this process more difficult. That was our previous response, and that is our current response, that today's ordinance does not provide for a neighbor notice. We've had home occupations in place for literally decades in Pima County. From an enforcement standpoint, we've had very little issues with these. We've been dealing with them. There is currently language in our existing home occupation code that reads, such occupation shall not cause any sustained, unpleasant, or unusual noises or vibrations, noxious fumes or odors, or cause any traffic congestions in the immediate neighborhood. There's an existing limit on the type and the amount of vehicles used in conjunction. Simply said, if we have a situation where we allow home occupation and we're then noticed that it is causing an increase of traffic congestion, an increase of commercial vehicle trips coming and going, we can enforce that. So we think with our 13 other controls in place, by allowing this use, this use that is very confined to a very specific amount of commercial food preparation, it's still going to be okay. We've not historically had issues with home occupations. That's one of the reasons we looked at expanding it. It's one of our zoning code successes where we've allowed then a fairly easy process for somebody to start a small startup or micro business.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Miller.
I don't think we're addressing the issue that Ms. Meyer brought up. She's talking about her private road, her private property, and the vehicular traffic that no one can predict, and no one has control over that traffic, making deliveries to, you know, she has a potential of 12 neighbors that may start a home bake and confectionery good business. And I think that's the issue that has not been addressed, is that private road, and they're having to maintain and pay the cost of that. If you end up with 10 neighbors doing home confection businesses, you're going to have a lot of vehicular traffic that they are going to be left paying the maintenance on. So I don't think that issue has been addressed.
Mr. Chairman, we would submit that it is being addressed in that these controls are in place to minimize the amount of increased traffic, that the scope of these home occupations are limited. I guess it is possible that if every neighbor in a given street were to do this, yeah, you would see a noticeable increase of traffic. But again, we've had decades of home occupations in the county, overall well received by neighborhoods or not even noticed by neighborhoods.
This lady is just asking for a provision be put in here to notice the neighbors and let them know so that they have an opportunity to come and speak about it. That's my understanding. Am I correct?
Please, if you could please answer the question at the podium so it can be part of the record. I'm sorry, Ms. Meyer.
I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Chair and members of the board. We are also asking for a limitation on the number of commercial vehicle deliveries and pickups that can take place. And you're right, you only need 2 or 3 homes doing this if you're going to have 8 pickups a day, because, you know, a 200 square foot structure dedicated to baking goods, you know, we have had serious problems in our neighborhood with trucks making deliveries and pickups, going too fast on our road, which causes washboarding. I don't need to take your time with the fact that...
I understand.
Yeah.
Chris, you know, it seems to me that you're suggesting, via your response to Ms. Miller's comments, this Ms. Miller, not this Ms. Miller.
Meyer.
I know, Meyer. See, I was wrong in the first place. Well, it's all right. We don't do anything up here anyways. What I would say is that you're suggesting that if we adopt what Ms. Meyer is suggesting, that we are in fact opening up 207, Prop 207 issue. Is that correct? Did I hear you say that correctly?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Elias, we would have concerns that if you are, making this process arguably more difficult and expanding the process, it could have some implications.
On the other hand, by adopting this ordinance, you create a 207 argument for the neighbors.
Well, what I was going to suggest was that we probably need some better legal advice and maybe even an opinion offered on this, so that we can move forward with this ordinance in the manner that's going to best protect the neighborhoods that we want to protect and provide ease for folks who want to operate businesses out of their homes. There has to be a way to balance this. If it comes in the form of our lawyers offering an opinion on it, that's fine with us, because I think we're just heading into a thing where we're continuing this thing on and on over the same issue. I recognize that you feel like you are addressing it, and I respect you for that, but quite honestly, there's a very strong argument from the other perspective that opens another 207 question, so let's just settle it with some legalese, okay? I move that we go ahead and continue this thing on for another month while we get some answer from
For
our
up to
lawyers.
90 days.
90 days is fine with me. I don't care.
Okay. Second.
All right.
And let me ask a question before we take a vote. What is the effect as we look at maybe resolving some of the legal issues that have been brought forth today? I also need to know the effect of not adopting this ordinance, so if I could have that information.
Mr.
I don't need
Chairman.
it now.
And if I may comment, I believe, best of my recollection, the direction from this board had also been that the notification requirements were for non-county maintained roads, not all roads, because obviously there's a distinction there. I believe that was part of it, and I don't believe that that was addressed in the changes that are being proposed today, because it wasn't for all roads; it was for those that were not county maintained.
Distinction.
Oh, I know she did.
Okay.
No, I understand
The
she
version
did.
of the ordinance. I got it.
Correct.
Thank you, Ramon.
Which was an important point. So the motion before us is to continue this item for up to 90 days.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 32. Supervisor Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I would like to close the hearing and approve the resolution, the rezoning resolution number 2013-33, Pima County Canoa Ranch rezoning in District 4.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 32 and resolution number 2013-33. And to close the public hearing, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving to item number 33, staff report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Mr. Golden.
This is a request by the folks that own, work for Freightliner of Arizona to modify by substantial change rezoning conditions for rezoning case C090905 to allow for a Freightliner dealership, a self-service dealership on this property that's located north of I-10 and east of Craycroft Road. There's a number of conditions that are requested for change. The staff is supportive of the case. There's been a petition received from one of the public meetings that the applicant held with signatures of 9 neighbors in support of the request. The property is outside of the Mavine Marie Behan Conservation Land System, and the conditions as proposed and recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission also take care, in addition to approving this, recommending approval of it, also take care of a potential really messy wall on the east side of the property where we would have had basically a double wall alley between 2 properties. And so with that, staff and the commission recommend approval. That's all we have unless there's questions.
Are there any questions? If not, Supervisor Elias.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, seeing no one come forward to ask any questions, I don't know, I know we have some representatives of the owner here, but why don't we just go ahead and close this public hearing and move the modification of rezoning conditions, case number C09-09-05.
Subject to standard and special.
Correct.
Second. Oh, you got it.
Thank you, Sharon.
Motion the second to approve item number 13, C09-09-05 with standard and special conditions and to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 34. Do we need a staff report on this one?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
members
Golden.
of the board, this is a request for a plat waiver from the Catalina Foothills zoning plan to allow, the actual request is for 1 additional lot on the subject property. As you know, the Catalina Foothills zoning plan was approved in 1959. They simply need the plat waiver in order to get the additional lot. Potentially, you could have 4 lots on this property, given that it's just shy of 4 acres in CR1. However, the petitioner made it clear at the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing that really they wanted 1 additional lot. So the Planning and Zoning Commission made a modification to condition now number 14 to restrict it to only one additional lot instead of the 4 that were shown on an original plan that was submitted. They also made a change to remove the in lieu rooftop fee for additional for parks off this property, particularly given that there was only one additional lot being made. And I understand it's for a family member. So with that, recommend approval, and that's all we have unless there's questions.
Supervisor Miller?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend closing the public hearing and approving waiving of the plating requirement CO9-1301 2006 Rupic Family Trust Valley View Road rezoning.
Second.
Motion and second to close the public hearing and approve item number 34, CO9-13-01 with standard and special conditions. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 35, staff report. Ms.
Mr.
Ford.
Is there any one in the audience that wishes to address us in opposition?
I don't have any cards.
I don't need a staff report. I'm going to move to close the public hearing and approve the Type 3 conditional use permit subject to standard and special conditions as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the hearing administrator for P21-13-005 100 Estrella LLC, North Ajo, Gila Bend Highway.
Second.
Motion and second to close the public hearing and approve item number 35, P21-13-005 with subject to standard and special conditions. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
By your vote of 4-1, motion carries. Moving on to number 36.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Miller.
I have a question about this item because I'm wondering why we're repealing the ban of acceptance of out-of-county municipal waste for our Pima County facilities. I just wonder why this ban is being removed. I didn't see anything in the background material that explained that.
I believe it was from a previous decision we made, but Mr. Bernal?
Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors, members, yes, Mr. Chairman, because of the ongoing effort to enter into a contract for our solid waste services in general, and as noted in the backup material for this item, we don't have, with the installation of the new Marana Regional Landfill, we don't have the concerns about landfill capacity we'd had in the past. And the entity that we're entering into the contract with certainly has an interest in maximizing or optimizing the amount of waste that they will handle for their operations. So during the last discussion, there was talk of eliminating this ban that we've had in place for many years.
So they are going to be potentially accepting waste from outside of Pima County?
That's
This is
correct.
the private operation that we voted on last time?
That
And
is
I think those wastes might not, it's basically, it's Santa Cruz County and Cochise County. I think that originally when the board adopted this ban, we were concerned about out-of-state waste, and we were concerned about out-of-country waste.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Elias.
Also, doesn't the Marana facility accept waste from outside Pima County as well?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Elise, I believe that's correct, yes.
Yeah. Okay, I
What's the
make
will
a
of the board?
motion to approve Pima County Code Text Amendment Ordinance Number 2013-27
And close the hearing.
and close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing and approve item number 36 and ordinance number 2013-27. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving to the addendum agenda. And we have item number 5. I do have one speaker card. Supervisor Miller, I believe this is your item. Would you like to say something before, or would you like to hear the speaker first?
I'd just like to speak that the reason that I put this on the agenda is I got numerous calls and a lot of emails from folks who would like to see a public session reviewing the budget. Due to the size and scope of $1.2 billion budget, I am requesting 2 4-hour study sessions, and that will allow the department directors to answer any questions and will further assist the supervisors in developing a clear understanding of where our tax dollars are going. And they're a best practice conducted by all the municipalities to ensure transparency and accountability to the citizens we represent. And I believe the citizens of this county deserve the opportunity to hear and be heard during this process, and I am advocating the Pima County Board of Supervisors adopt these sessions on behalf of the citizens of Pima County. Thank you.
Okay. I do have one speaker. Jerry, would you please come up, identify yourself for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Chairman and Board of Supervisors, my name is Jerry Ottoboni, and as I understand, you just tell the city you live in now instead of the actual address, or?
If you could please give us your address.
Oh, okay. 13272 North Modesto Court, Oro Valley, Arizona.
Thank you.
I'm a senior and on a fixed income and believe that we, the voters and seniors of Pima County, should have a study session so we could have a better understanding of where and why our tax dollars are spent. You know, kind of a transparency thing. I have brought a copy of an article in the Arizona Daily Star and 116 negative comments. Perhaps a study session, which is open to the public, would help these individuals have a better understanding of why and where our tax dollars are spent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Any questions or comments?
Hey,
Supervisor Miller.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve these study sessions, May 15th and June 5th, 2013.
Is there a second to the motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
I'll second for the sake of discussion. I have a comment about the dates that are proposed. Mr. Chairman, these dates happen to be picked by your office?
Yes.
Okay. I'd not been...
Those are open for discussion, Mr. Carroll.
Good, I'm
Supervisor
glad. I
Carroll.
came over on Friday to your office. I hope your staff let you know I came over to see if there was a chance that maybe you could turn over this assignment to the scheduling of your recommended budget study session to the clerk of the court, or to the clerk of the board, pardon me. To the clerk of the board, who I think is more probably capable of
As I identified in my
through the-
motion, it was
Pardon me.
proposed dates.
Pardon me, who is probably better apt to scheduling with each of the 5 offices an appropriate date. Thank you.
Ms. Miller, would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I believe the motion before us,
There was
is there any further comments? All right, hearing none, the motion before us is on the approval of item number 5 with the amendment that the scheduling of the dates will be done by the clerk of the board. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. By your vote of 2 to 3, motion fails. Moving on to real property, item number
Mr. Chairman?
6, Supervisor Elias.
I'll go ahead and move items 6A and B and item 7.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Miller.
on item 7, this is $35,000 coming out of the general fund for education, and I don't think we should be utilizing these monies for this program. I just wanted to make that comment prior to the vote.
Okay.
This is a county-owned school, just so
Correct.
Supervisor Miller knows that.
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. No
All
problem.
right, motion before us is on the approval
Don't
of
make kids.
item number 6A and B and number 7 on the addendum agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
By your vote of 4 to 1, motion carries. I do have several speaker cards for call to the public. Okay. Let me call them in the order that I received them. Keith Van Heinigen, please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Afternoon, my name is Keith Van Heinigen. I'm a Tucson resident, an American citizen. We are a country at war. If any of you need help deciphering the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution, I'll help. On May 1st, with purpose, I went down to Rudy Garcia Park to listen to the enemies of my and your country. The rally was held by a coalition of communists and illegal alien invader supporters. 4 of the keynote speakers spoke with passion from their hearts at this rally. And I recall them doing it many times before in public, and I've filmed many of these. These 4 people are not common criminals. They have betrayed their sacred oaths to the people of the United States of America and the subdivisions therein because they give aid and comfort to the enemies of our country. These 4 people directly represent a threat to national security. See, these 4 people were not just exercising their First Amendment rights. They were local government officials. Officials openly committing treason. You know these local officials by the names Daniel Hernandez Jr., Isabella Garcia, Regina Romero, and Richard Elias. Myself and friends, which I have a few, have set a ball in motion. Hopefully the media can keep up, not just cover up. Investigations, impeachments, and treason trials. Oh my. Let's make it a comedy. And now back to your regularly scheduled Pima County corruption and wasteful spending. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Van Heinigen. Next, I'm going to call John Becerra. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Yeah, it is. But my name is Mr. Valadez, board members, members of the public. My name is John Becerra. I'm a Pima County resident, and I live at 2120 East 32nd Street. And I am the chapter chairperson of SEIU. I'm also a Pima County employee. I work at wastewater. Okay, I'm here to address the board on the spirit of cooperation of the county employees that the county employees have shown in these tough economic times. In the last 5 years, Pima County has continued to work and provide to taxpayers the best possible services and public service and safety. The work we do provides safe roads you drive on and with limited funding. It promotes healthy living and access to health services, ensures safe disposal of our waste products in landfills and wastewater. We have emergency dispatchers that work wonderfully for our county. Animal care, you see them every board meeting. They're here, happy to be here also. And one of my favorite services is a library service. The library provides the first line in education. It's starting with story time, giving our youngest residents of the county the best start to an education. Okay. It also gives computer classes to help and assist residents to get back to work that have been having a hard time. And these last 5 years have not been easy. The fiscal crisis meant that we had to do more with less. The number of county workers has shrunk, so our responsibilities have grown. We went without wage increases, and we've paid more for our health care. so our paychecks have decreased in the last 5 years. We've contributed more to retirement, and like everyone else, we felt the blow of the FICA rates that went back up last year. Employees shared the burden to avoid cutting services Pima County residents rely on every day. Here's the reality of what Pima County employees have faced in the last years. Health insurance premiums have risen 79.5% for high deductible health. PPOs have risen 76.5% over the last 4 years. ASRS contributions have gone up from 2% to 11.3%. The cost of living has also continued to climb. The Consumer Price Index for the western states measure the cost of living has gone up an average of 2% every year since employees last saw a pay adjustment, for a total of 12% rise in the Consumer Price Index. Okay. The average employee. Okay. Okay. In summary, we're asking that you approve pay raise for all the employees that do wonderful work and give the county wonderful services. And I thank you.
Is Monica Nicolas here? Okay. So then I'm going to Jeffrey Summers. Please identify yourself for the record.
My name is Jeff Summers. I live in the 8600 block of East Helen Place, Tucson, Arizona. Oh, yeah. One of many. Good morning, Chairman Valadez, board members, and members of the public. I am a Pima County employee, and I work at the library department as a clerk. I'm here to briefly address employee compensation for frontline county staff, the workers who make this county tick. You have already heard about the hardships and the cooperation employees have shown during this economic crisis to keep this county thriving. We know that historically, Pima County employees make less than our peers in similar positions in other parts of the state. We continue to do this because we love our community. Recently, the county administrator released his budget recommendations for this fiscal year. While I was encouraged to see that employee compensation is being addressed after over 5 years, I, along with many that I work with, were concerned that the message being sent to frontline staff from management. The staggered 3% raise is a great start, but more needs to be done to move employees forward. Mr. Huckleberry himself has called the raise not a lot and modest, yet our contributions as frontline employees has been far from modest over these past few years. We have worked tirelessly to keep programs and services going despite making sacrifices at home. What was not modest was the raise Mr. Huckleberry received to his own pay this year. Beyond the additional benefits the administrator was afforded in his contract, he received an additional 15.2% raise, $35,000, which is more than I make in a year. According to his contract, he will also receive any across-the-board pay raises the employees get. I'm not here to scrutinize the work that Mr. Huckleberry has done or his value to the county. I am simply make this point to raise my question. Why does there seem to be one standard for the county administrator and another for the frontline employees? There's no question that his raise moves him forward well beyond the cost of living. However, when it comes time to recommend a compensation plan for frontline staff, Mr. Huckleberry's recommendation was 3%, 15% for him and 3% for employees. Even after this 3% raise, most employees will still be bringing home less than they did 3 years ago. I believe this recommendation represents a disconnect from the people who work every day. From his position, I think it's safe to say he hasn't had to face the same hardships that any employee making less than $15 an hour has these past 5 years. That's why I'm here today to ask the board to continue to work with employees to structure this pay raise in a way that moves employees forward as well and helps those at the bottom who need it the most. I believe there are ways to work within this year's budget that will come up with better compensation plan than what has been presented, but it will require the county to commit to addressing pay in coming years. I'm asking the county to commit to frontline staff as much they have done to county management. The Employee Meet and Confer Committee is ready and willing to offer up our ideas, and we look forward to the discussion in coming weeks. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. Next, I'd like to call on Maya Castillo. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Maya Castillo, President, SEIU Arizona, and Pima County resident. Thank you for continuing to listen to our employees. As you can tell, employees are not just they're not just employees, they're residents and also taxpayers. As such, they have been impacted by the economic downturn as much as any other county resident. Our goal in continuing to talk to you and talking to you today, other than discussing our hardships and needs and our strength and dedication, is to ask you to make a commitment to continuing to acknowledge employees and continuing to make efforts to make employees whole. Under Mr. Huckleberry's proposal, many, but not all, of the employees that we represent will see wage increases during the rapidly coming fiscal year, a bonus plus 1% and 2% raises during the course of the fiscal year. While a one-time bonus is helpful, I know that you understand that it does not provide continuing relief that employees need long-term. We would like to see options that keep employees moving forward, options like structuring the money in an additional across-the-board increase or a flat rate across the board in order to help employees that make the least. Please focus on employee needs that directly impact county residents. We must remain competitive in order to recruit and retain the best and the brightest. Our ability to do so is strongly tied to our future viability as a county and as a state. If our best and brightest go to other higher paying jobs and better jobs in other places, we have no one to help us grow another best generation. You have heard statistics on the increase in cost of living over the past few years, and we have voiced our concerns over fairness and quality of services. While we understand that the economic damage of this recession cannot be undone in 1 year, we urge you to make a pledge to employees to continue to make this a priority. We will commit to helping seek out and identify waste within our respective departments, and we will commit to continuing our dedicated and high-quality services. In fact, this week at our Meet and Confer meeting, we will propose a co-sponsored contest. The county and SEIU working together to seek out the best cost-saving measures that frontline employees can come up with. Programs like this have helped SEIU save millions of dollars for employers across the country. We look forward to a continued dialogue on issues affecting employees and on taxpayers. And I will hand to the clerk of the board some further information. I know many of you have seen similar information, but something else that you can use to look over the Mr. Huckleberry's wage proposal. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Castillo. Next, I'd like to call on Sean Fund. Mr. Fund, if you could please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the board, for the few minutes to talk about this very important subject. It seems like we're all talking about money today, and money is a very important factor. I'm a detective with the Pima County Attorney's Office. I was tasked by my boss, Michael O'Connor, to come up with a proposal for a salary increase for our detectives. I've been employed with the County Attorney's Office, sir, for over 7 years and have not seen any increase in my salary. We have a very bad compression issue within our office, and because of that, I literally could start at one salary and 20 years later remain at the same salary throughout my whole career. And that is what is in place now. That is what needs to be addressed. We cannot further kick the can down the road anymore. I know there's a lot of money involved with trying to compensate everyone to get them to their proper levels, proper pay grade, but the damage, in my humble opinion, will be worse if we wait longer. It's better to act now and solve the problem than it is to wait further down the road and have a bigger issue altogether. I have as an advantage also as a proposal I put together for our office. I will make this available to yourself and other members of the board so that they have a copy. I've done comparisons of the pay grade from everyone in our area, including the local departments and counties, county offices, including ourselves. And just to give you an idea, sir, quickly, the average, the lowest hourly salary rate is presently paid by the Pima County Attorney's Office of $17.38 an hour. The highest salary is paid by Pinal County at $36.15 an hour. When you average those two costs together, you come out with an average rate of $26.76 an hour. There's only one individual in my entire office who makes, with the exclusion of my boss, who makes that hourly wage. These are issues that need to be addressed. There are other speakers who have come before this panel to talk about cost of living increases, costs to the consumer, and they are more present, don't need me to be redundant on those points. But I would hope that both you, Mr. Chairman, and this panel would take into serious consideration of a cost of living increase along with a salary increase. I also know that there's been a discussion of a 1% increase, a bonus, and also an additional increase at the end of the year. With everything that's been looked upon as far as cost of living within the county, it doesn't even compensate for raises within the medical benefits we must pay. We're not even talking about Obamacare being implemented and other issues. So there are costs that have to be taken into consideration. And I appreciate the time before you and before the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fun. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board or call to the public? Hearing none, this meeting stands adjourned.